The terrifying secret behind a death once believed to be suicide in a family. The film opens with a warm atmosphere of a small family that appears very happy. On the first day of the new year, a young girl named Emily spends time with her parents, her father David and her mother Allison. They play together in the park, enjoying simple moments that feel very meaningful. As night falls, David and Allison prepare to attend a New Year's party. Before leaving, Allison takes a moment to say goodbye to Emily and tells her how much she loves her. Unknowingly, those words become the last expression of love Emily will ever hear from her mother. After returning from the party at around 2 in the morning, David is shocked by a horrifying sight when he finds Allison dead in the bathroom. The tragic incident leaves a deep wound for Emily, changing her life forever. Allison's death is believed to be a suicide, and the tragedy deeply affects both Emily and David. Emily's trauma becomes so severe that she has to undergo treatment at a children's hospital. As a husband, David is overwhelmed with guilt for not recognizing the signs of his wife's suicidal thoughts. He continues to blame himself for what happened. Seeing Emily still trapped in her trauma, David decides to move with her to a small town in the northern area. He hopes that a new environment will help Emily slowly heal, rather than staying in their old house filled with painful memories that could continue to haunt her. Before they leave, David's friend, a doctor named Catherine, gives Emily a music box to comfort her during this difficult time. Since Allison's death, Emily has become very quiet and rarely speaks. Even when receiving the gift, she only responds to Catherine with a faint smile.
I have a surprise for you. Do you like it? And whenever I was feeling sad, I would open the lid.
Soon after, David and Emily, along with their pet cat, take about a 1-hour journey to the town of Woodland. Woodland is a small town with a low population, making the place feel quiet and somewhat isolated. When they arrive, they are welcomed by a man named Haskins, a property seller, along with Sheriff Hefferty. Haskins then takes David around, briefly explaining the surroundings of the town. While David is checking the condition of the house with Haskins and Hefferty, he suddenly realizes that Emily is no longer with them. David panics for a moment, but eventually finds Emily standing still, staring toward the trees near the lake. Her gaze is empty, as if she is fixated on something no one else can see.
Hello. This is Sheriff Hafferty. Great. Let me show you around the back.
Picked a nice spot. Did you see where my daughter went?
Emily!
You okay? Mr. Haskins, Sheriff, we'll take it from here.
That night, Emily still shows no sign of cheerfulness. She appears gloomy and withdrawn, no matter how hard David tries to comfort her or give her attention. Before going to bed, David takes some time to play hide and seek with Emily, as it is her favorite game. After that, he gives her a diary, hoping she will express her feelings through it. The next day, while David is busy cleaning his study and organizing their belongings, he does not realize that Emily quietly wanders around outside the house. Without her father knowing, Emily explores quite far until she finds a cave. It is not explained what she does there, but it seems she enters the cave. This becomes apparent when she returns home, leaving muddy footprints on the floor from her shoes. Unfortunately, David does not notice this because he is in a hurry to go into town to buy daily necessities, and he takes Emily with him. On the way to the supermarket, David stops briefly at a gas station. There, he meets a young woman named Elizabeth, who is accompanying her niece, Amy. David notices that Amy is about the same age as Emily. Seeing this, he immediately thinks that Amy might be a good playmate for Emily. He hopes that having a new friend can at least cheer her up a little and help her slowly recover from her trauma. After returning home, Emily suddenly tells David that she already has a new friend named Charlie. She says she first met Charlie earlier that day, before they went into town. Hearing this, David carefully observes his daughter's reaction, but quickly concludes that Charlie is most likely just an imaginary friend. David then talks about this with Catherine, who suggests that he should spend more time with Emily and try to have fun with her.
Because I have a new friend. He's not a doll. He told me to call him Charlie.
Is he here right now?
I think he's sleeping.
Trauma causes pain. It's not unusual to create imaginary friends. Play with her.
Following Catherine's advice, the next day, David takes Emily fishing at the lake near their house. However, something about Emily feels different. She seems bolder, even showing a disturbing lack of hesitation when it comes to hurting animals, as if it has become something normal to her. The fishing trip does little to cheer her up. Instead, she tells her father that Charlie is much more fun because he behaves like her mother who has passed away. Hearing this, David can only remain silent, holding back his emotions as he listens to his daughter's honest words. In the middle of the night, David suddenly wakes up from a dream about the New Year's party, the last night he spent with Allison. He realizes that the time is exactly the same as when he found his wife dead. As if reliving the moment, David steps out of his room and sees the bathroom door open, with a faint light coming from inside. When he enters, the atmosphere feels tense. Candles are lit around the room, and on the bathtub wall there is a message written in red crayon that says, "You let her die." David freezes, then slowly turns toward the door. There, Emily is already standing with a blank expression. At that moment, David assumes that she is responsible for everything, but Emily denies it and calmly says that Charlie did it.
Emily, why would you do this?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. It was Charlie.
Emily's behavior increasingly worries David. He continues to share everything with Catherine, describing the strange actions his daughter has been showing. So far, Catherine can only try to calm him down and suggests that he might use the idea of Charlie as a way to reconnect with Emily. However, David feels unsure about how to handle the situation. To him, playing along with Charlie does not seem like a good idea. Instead, he chooses another approach by inviting Elizabeth and Amy over to the house, hoping Emily can have a real friend. Unfortunately, Emily reacts negatively. She becomes aggressive, destroys Amy's doll, and says that Amy should not be in her house because she might get hurt. Not long after, Amy asks Elizabeth to leave, clearly unwilling to continue playing with Emily. After they are gone, Emily firmly tells her father that she does not want any friends except Charlie.
Hi.
Hi, Amy. This is Elizabeth. This is Amy.
Hi. Incubator, what shall it be? You shouldn't be here. You could get hurt. I don't need any more friends.
One day, Emily is seen playing alone in the yard. From inside the house, David occasionally keeps an eye on her, but suddenly he notices a strange man playing with Emily. Without hesitation, David rushes outside and realizes that the man is Stephen, a neighbor who lives not far from their house. Stephen explains that he only wanted to keep Emily company because she looked lonely.
Just wanted to say hi. I'm Steven, Laura's husband from next door.
Well, you're going to have to excuse us, Stephen. We have a busy day. Let's go.
After Stephen leaves, David tells Emily not to talk to strangers anymore. However, Emily does not seem to care about her father's warning, insisting that Stephen is just their neighbor. That night, Emily shows strange behavior again, as she is seen smiling to herself in her room. When David asks why she looks so happy, Emily says that she just met Charlie, but that he has already run away through the window. David asks Emily to introduce him to Charlie, but she replies that it is impossible because Charlie does not like him. Later, while David is in his study, Emily is seen playing hide and seek with Charlie. She looks around the house searching for him until she ends up going down into the basement. Suddenly, the electricity goes out, causing Emily to scream loudly and panic. Hearing her scream, David rushes to find her and eventually discovers Emily in the basement. He looks confused, unable to understand what she is doing there. The next day, Stephen's wife Laura comes to David's house to apologize for what happened earlier. Stephen feels that he may have made David panic by playing with Emily without permission. Laura then explains that they recently lost their child to cancer, and seeing Emily play unintentionally reminded them of their late child. Hearing this, David understands their situation and chooses to forgive them. That night, they have a visitor, Elizabeth, whom David has invited over for dinner. During dinner, Emily once again behaves strangely, wearing her late mother's dress and belongings. Not only that, she begins to show hostility toward Elizabeth by knocking down a book that Elizabeth gives her. Emily seems to believe that Elizabeth is trying to take her father away. Frustrated, David tells Emily to go to her room. While sleeping later that night, David once again dreams about the New Year's party, and once again he wakes up exactly at 2 a.m. When he steps out of his room, he sees the bathroom door open. As he enters, he finds their pet cat dead, drowned in the bathtub. At that moment, David immediately accuses Emily of doing it. However, Emily denies it again and insists that it was Charlie. David cannot believe what has just happened. Overwhelmed with mixed emotions, he goes to the kitchen to calm himself down before eventually going outside to bury their pet cat. In the morning, David tries to find out who Charlie really is by asking Emily directly. He even asks her to introduce him to Charlie. Instead of answering, Emily shows him a drawing she made in her room. In the drawing, there are 3 figures: herself, Charlie, and her mother. Emily then says that Charlie does not want David to be happy and that her father should suffer the same way her mother did. At this point, David feels that he can no longer handle Emily on his own.
Charlie and Mommy?
Mommy wouldn't like Charlie.
That's not what he says. He says he would have satisfied her.
Who told you that?
Charlie did?
No.
Charlie!
He decides to ask Catherine for help in figuring out who Charlie really is. Catherine comes over and tries to speak with Emily directly. From their conversation, Catherine realizes that Emily has formed a very close bond with Charlie. Emily even admits that Charlie does not like seeing David happy and does not want Catherine to interfere in their matters. Hearing this, Catherine begins to feel that something is seriously wrong with Emily and her imaginary friend. Because of her concern, Catherine asks David for permission to take Emily back to the hospital for a psychological evaluation. David agrees, but asks for 2 weeks before Emily is taken back, hoping that there might still be some improvement. That night, David quietly sneaks into Emily's room and finds the diary he once gave her. However, instead of writing in it, Emily has been drawing her deceased mother.
What were you looking at?
After that, David returns to his room, but his mind is still filled with curiosity about Charlie. Since they moved to the town, only one person has ever interacted directly with Emily, and that is Stephen. From this, David begins to suspect that Stephen might have something to do with Charlie. Driven by suspicion, David secretly observes Stephen's house using a telescope. From a distance, he sees Laura and Stephen seemingly arguing, and at times, Laura appears to point toward David's house, which only strengthens his suspicion. Feeling the need to find out more, David decides to visit them. He tries to gather information by talking to Laura about Stephen, but she only explains that her husband has been overwhelmed with grief and frustration after losing their child. Suddenly, Laura stops the conversation and asks David to leave, as if she does not want to discuss it any further.
I thought I'd return the favor. I'd like to talk about this. It might help.
How painful he can make it. You have no idea how painful it can be. I'm sorry. I've already said too much.
I can help you.
No. He'll be back any moment.
Later that afternoon, Elizabeth arrives at David's house without informing him beforehand. At that moment, David does not notice her arrival because he is working in his study while wearing headphones. Elizabeth then decides to go to Emily's room. She tries to talk to her and apologizes, feeling that her presence may have made Emily uncomfortable. Elizabeth also says that she wants to become Emily's friend. Hearing this, Emily invites Elizabeth to play hide and seek with her and Charlie. Emily says that Charlie is currently hiding inside the closet. Curious, Elizabeth agrees to play along. However, when she opens the closet door, she is suddenly shocked, causing her to step back and fall out of Emily's room. The incident turns fatal, and it is very likely that Elizabeth dies as a result.
Are you in here? Would you mind if we talked for a moment?
Are we friends?
What game are you playing?
Hide and seek.
Who's hiding?
Charlie.
Charlie.
A few hours later, David wakes up from his sleep and immediately looks for Emily. He is shocked to see that Emily's bedroom window is broken. Meanwhile, Emily is sitting quietly, drawing a picture of Elizabeth falling from her room. David looks outside the window, but finds nothing. Not long after, Sheriff Hefferty arrives at David's house to ask about Elizabeth. He explains that Elizabeth's car was found wrecked on the side of the road, but strangely, Elizabeth was not inside the vehicle. The sheriff then asks David if he knows anything about what happened. However, David says that he knows nothing, as he has just woken up and has not yet fully understood what is happening in his own house. Shortly after the sheriff leaves, David rushes to ask Emily about Elizabeth's whereabouts. Emily's face is already filled with tears. She tells him that Elizabeth's body is in the bathroom. When David checks, he finds Elizabeth's lifeless body lying in a bathtub filled with blood. The sight instantly reminds him of Allison's death, and panic immediately takes over him. David then brings Emily back to her room and keeps pressing her to explain who did it. But once again, Emily insists that it was Charlie. David becomes more distressed and tries to force Emily to reveal who Charlie really is, but she cannot answer, as if something is holding her back. Emily admits that Charlie forced her to help move Elizabeth's body. Even so, David still believes that someone else must be responsible. He refuses to believe that his daughter is capable of doing something so cruel.
What did you do?
Charlie.
Who is Charlie?
He made me help him.
Who is this?
Please, I can't. You can't stop him, Daddy!
After locking Emily in her room for safety, David goes to his study, trying to find a way out while calming his increasingly chaotic mind. While David is in his study, someone believed to be Charlie seems to have freed Emily from her room. Emily uses the opportunity to call Catherine, begging to be saved from Charlie. Not long after, when David comes out of his study, he is shocked to find that Elizabeth's body is no longer in the bathtub. Emily says that Charlie has taken it away. David grabs a knife and rushes outside to look for Charlie. Instead of finding Charlie, he runs into Stephen. His suspicion that Stephen is the real Charlie grows even stronger. Stephen's presence around the house during such a tense situation does not seem like a coincidence. On top of that, Stephen keeps asking about Emily, as if he's trying to get close to her. Convinced that Stephen is Charlie, David immediately attacks him with a knife. After that, David goes back inside the house, leaving Stephen injured outside. Stephen then quickly calls the sheriff after being attacked. Inside the house, David tries to calm Emily, telling her that everything is safe because he has driven away Stephen, whom he believes is Charlie. While trying to calm Emily, David accidentally notices something strange in his study. He sees stacks of boxes that are still neatly piled up and have never been unpacked, even though he feels like he has spent a lot of time in that room. From that moment, a terrifying realization slowly begins to form. David finally understands the truth that Charlie, who has been considered Emily's imaginary friend, is actually a part of himself, another personality within him. All this time, David has been suffering from dissociative identity disorder, where the personality Charlie emerges as a manifestation of the anger and deep trauma he has been carrying. Whenever Charlie takes over, David feels as if he is asleep or inside his study, completely unaware of what is really happening. In that state, Charlie commits various horrific acts, including killing their pet cat and Elizabeth. This also explains why Elizabeth was so shocked when she opened the closet where Charlie was hiding, because the figure she saw was actually David himself. David then remembers that everything began on the night of the New Year's party, just hours before his wife's death, when he caught Allison having an affair. The betrayal left David deeply hurt and furious. Throughout their marriage, he had always tried to be a good husband, yet Allison repaid him with betrayal. That emotional trauma eventually gave birth to Charlie, the dark side of David. This personality allowed him to commit terrible acts, even to the point of killing his own wife. In the end, it is revealed that Allison's death was not a suicide, but the result of David's actions while he was being controlled by Charlie. Emily is the only one who has known about her father's split personality all along. However, she has been too afraid to tell anyone because she was not sure which personality was responsible for her mother's death. Until eventually, Emily realizes that it was Charlie who had done it all along. Unfortunately, by the time David finally realizes that he suffers from dissociative identity disorder, he is no longer able to control himself. Charlie takes over completely once again. In that state, David attacks another person, Sheriff Hefferty, who has come to investigate Stephen's report.
Dr. Calloway? Where's your dad?
You die.
As Charlie drags Hefferty's body into the basement, Emily tries to take advantage of the moment by locking him inside and escaping to find safety. However, Charlie is not that easy to stop. He manages to get out of the basement and confronts Emily. With a cold tone, Charlie invites Emily to play hide and seek again. This time the game feels far more dangerous because if Emily is found, her life could be at risk in the hands of her own father. Not long after, Catherine arrives at the house. She's still unaware that David has a split personality named Charlie, so she does not act cautiously. When David appears, Catherine remains calm until he suddenly pushes her into the basement and locks her inside. In the basement, Catherine is horrified when she sees the sheriff's body lying there, seemingly lifeless. In a panic, Catherine tries to take the gun from the sheriff's pocket, only to realize that he is still alive. Meanwhile, Emily manages to escape and hides in the cave where she first met Charlie. However, Charlie realizes this and immediately follows her there.
Emily. Emily, open up for Daddy.
Not long after, Catherine, who has managed to get out of the basement while carrying a gun, quickly chases after them toward the cave. She enters after hearing the sound of Emily's music box. Inside, Catherine comes face to face with Charlie, who tries to pretend to be David. Caught off guard, Catherine is attacked again and nearly becomes a victim. Charlie is about to kill her, but Emily's scream stops him. Terrified, Emily begs Charlie not to hurt Catherine because Catherine is the only person she has left. In that moment of distraction, Catherine finds her chance and shoots Charlie. The shot finally ends everything as Charlie dies along with David.
I'm sorry. There you are.
Please, Charlie. She's my friend. Don't hurt her.
I thought I was your friend.
After the tragic incident, Emily, who has now lost both of her parents, is taken care of by Catherine. She begins a new life, prepares to return to school, and slowly regains her happiness. However, at the very end, a drawing made by Emily shows herself with two heads, subtly hinting that she may have developed the same disorder as her father, and the film comes to an end.